Hey guys, Matty Miller, Pursuit Real Estate here, and I have a guest who is one of our clients here at Pursuit Real Estate on the management side, Mr. Brett McAulay, and he has been so kind to join us and talk a little bit about his experience as a real estate investor in the Jacksonville, Florida area, among other markets as well. So Brett has experienced two or three other different markets around the country, probably more if we go back really deep into the archives, but we only have time for so much. So Brett, appreciate you joining me. And I just got a few things I want to ask you. And kind of starting off real quick is, how'd you get into real estate in the first place? How'd you get into real estate investing? What was your drive? Was there one thing that kind of drove you to it, or just somebody told you, hey, you should do this?
Well, I graduated college. I had no money. I had a $27,000 student loan. And I looked around at the real estate where I was working. I was an engineering geologist at the time and saw it was unaffordable. And this was in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area. And so I knew I had to figure out investing, right? And so they didn't teach us that in college as a scientist. So I started learning about investing and both stock investing and real estate investing, just from reading. And then I got really
just picking up a book and kind of just diving into it.
Asking a lot of questions to my stepfather, who seemed to know a little bit about money, but not very much. And so I actually started as a financial planner shortly thereafter. The light bulb went on. I wanted to teach people about investing, but part of financial planning is often stock investing. But I was as passionate, if not more passionate, about real estate investing.
Okay.
And so I knew I wanted to build enough income and enough nest eggs so that someday I could actually invest in real estate. And I got started. I had an office that I was renting in Palo Alto, and I knew these people who owned a little office condominium. This was really the beginning of my investment.
I remember this story. You've told me this.
It's a great story. I had found a realtor, and they kept knocking on the doors, a commercial realtor, and asking these people if they wanted to sell. And they had an inkling that they might want to. And finally, we hit a price point that they wanted to sell. Now, I didn't have a lot of capital. I had an equity line that I could take out on my house. And we put 10% down on a building. It was a little office condo. And I got an SBA loan for the other 90% financed. And that property, 10 years later, was worth twice as much. But what I learned was a lot about leverage, a lot. And I made mistakes along the way. You might know the Las Vegas market in 2007 and 2008 wasn't the greatest place to buy, but I bought.
Yeah.
So shortly after this office condo, I bought a condo in Vegas. So one made me pretty wealthy and one made me learn a lot. And so that was the beginning. And then a few years later, I got very interested in out-of-state real estate investing. I found a mentor who was a brilliant real estate investor, and he had started investing in Austin market. And he said, "Oh, you should go to Austin." And so he introduced me to a couple of people. So I had a team sort of pre-built in Austin, and that was really the next market that I started at.
Okay. So we've kind of come full circle to first commercial real estate investment because you were curious. It worked. Hey, great. We dabbled.
It was my office.
It was your office. Yeah. It was your office. It worked out great. It's like, okay, how do I do more of this? And then you started to look at other markets as well. So shifting from, the investment part to try to make nest eggs, to try to make, a retirement plan of some sort, and all those things in investing, whether it's stocks or bonds or whatever, real estate's another avenue that a lot of people like to use. But specifically when I think about property management, did you ever manage property yourself?
The only property I managed ourselves was our personal residence. We moved out. It was a small house in Palo Alto. And so we went and rented a bigger house.
Yep.
Rented it out to Stanford students.
Okay.
So it was interesting, a bunch of little pre-med students and whatnot. So that was the personal residence. But other than that, I've always been a big believer in using property management companies that you trust.
What's your reason why you want to use a management company, and what's your reason why, and what challenges or frustrations have you experienced with bad companies, I guess, too. Let's start with the frustrations part, because I think that's largely where a lot of people's pain points coming from when they're a landlord is, man, I can't find a good property management company. What are those frustrations that you've experienced, whether it's in regards to communication, which is always a big one, transparency, which is a big one, probably one and the same, transparency and communication. What are those challenges for you as far as trying to find a good management company?
The primary reason initially looking for a property management firm was I planned to do out-of-state investing.
Correct.
But it really was not even a reasonable assumption.
That you were going to manage it yourself.
Yeah. Number two, I was running a business, probably working 50 or 60 hours a week and raising 2 kids, coaching a little league, doing scouting. And so there's also the leverage of your time, right? But especially for out of state, the property management team, and if I was to tell anybody that getting into real estate, they probably know this, or maybe they don't, but the property management team that you select and their delivery of results will make or break the real estate, your investing career. You can have a mediocre market and a mediocre house with a great property management team, and they will far outperform a great property in a great market with a crappy property management team.
That is obviously I do this for a living, so I'm biased, right? So of course that makes sense. To me, it does. And I think to a lot of people, they think, oh my gosh, property management, it's expensive. It's a monthly cost. Plus they want to charge you for this. Plus they want to charge you for that. But I think the one key thing is that I heard in what you said time, right? So your time is limited. Your time is valuable, especially when you have other things that are going on in your life, whether it's kids, other businesses, other investments, just other interest in general, to where knowing someone and you have that you trust in your back pocket probably gives you peace of mind anyway, which is exactly what you're looking for, I think.
If you want me to get specific about the
give me one specific detail.
The trials and tribulations, there's a lot of areas where you need good property management to deliver, but one of the biggest is just repairs. Right? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to what you do, Matty, but repairs are a big one. Unless you have all brand new houses, you're going to have repairs. You're going to have tenants leave, so you'll have to make ready for the next tenant to come in. That's called repairs. And you're fixing things and cleaning it up and painting, and then things will go wrong. Especially if you have older properties, you're going to have plumbing and AC issues, roofs, and all kinds of other little things like garage doors, and the door jamb doesn't work in the backyard. Oh my God, we got a crack and we got a little quarter-inch thing moving. So how those repairs are dealt with, and within that you can talk about how much does it cost, how are you deploying vendors, what are the relationships with the vendors. I can go on and on, but repairs for me, this was back to your first question, would be the one area where a lot of the things we'll talk about of what a good property management team does can get mitigated because of the communication, the way they work, the relationships that they have with the vendors, and you will get better results. And that will go into how they're dealing with their tenants and everything else that they do. But repairs are a good signal.
If someone can handle repairs efficiently, they're likely going to handle probably everything else very efficiently. One would imagine.
That's been my experience, and I got other things that are big pain points or things to like about a property management firm that you're looking for, or what I watch out for, right? Because I've had multiple bad experiences and I've had multiple good experiences, and I know the difference and at least what I look for when I'm going forward.
So, the funny thing you say that is that, I've always told people all the time, they're like, well, what makes you different? And I tell vendors this, like, one of my biggest jobs as a property manager is to recruit vendors and make them set up into our system, make sure they understand our system. We use a specific software system that handles with repairs, where they can upload photos, they can upload invoices, they can do all those things. And I've told people, like, I'm only as good as my vendors, because if my plumber can't get there, or my electrician can't get there, or my handyman can't get there in time to get it done, to get the property back on the market soon enough, or whatever the situation may be, I'm probably not doing my job well enough. So vendors are very important. And I actually didn't even think of that as an answer when you were going to say that, but I thought you were going to say something different. But at the same time, that's a great point. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up. So think we've covered a lot, by the way. And I wanted to ask kind of one question, and it's kind of going to piggyback a little bit. We talked about communication a lot, and that came to be a sweet spot there. Is there a level of communication on a professional level that you prefer, whether it's, some people are, constantly picking up the phone? Do you want to know about every little thing that happens to a property, or do you just want to be informed? What's your level of how, because I think every investor that around that I've met is somewhat different. Some say, hey, Matt, only call me if it's over $1,000 or whatever the situation may be. How involved are you typically on your properties and staying up to date with what's happening?
The magic answer for the perfect level of communication is, what does the customer want, right? Yeah. So you're asking what I want. I might want something slightly more because I do all the bookkeeping. Right now I have 12 properties. I've had as many as 18. And with the bookkeeping comes sort of an eagle eye on, and I have a financial background.
Sure.
Oh, what's that? Or what's that? So what I love about the communication that we have is, if I do notice something and I'm not sure what it is, which is actually pretty rare, it's very easy to get in touch with you, either via phone or email or text, and get a quick answer. It's like, oh, okay. So I don't like to be overburdened. I mean, I think there's a reason why each firm will have a level of $300. I can't remember exactly what ours is, but
yeah, 400.
400. So it's like, what? Don't bother me under that. Yeah. But I do like that you will match my communication, saying, hey, you know what? We had a weird thing. Just to let you know, this is what happened. You'll probably see it on your expense sheet when the reports come out. So I love that. Or the other type of, what I really like is, if either one of us needs something, there's a commitment to responding back to each other relatively quickly so we can resolve something. We don't let it sit within 24 hours or 48 hours, even though we're both really busy. We're finding a point to connect and agree, here's the strategy going forward on this issue, whatever it is. So I think communication should be in the eye of what the person needs, and then you being able to match that really well has been very, very, very enjoyable experience.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to hear that. And again, on the communication side, and you're exactly right, is different people require different levels of communication or expect it, or some don't. I mean, I've had property owners that say, hey, don't call me unless it's over X. So it's like, all right, fine. Or I even had a client say, oh, I'll put X amount of money into an account and call me if that ever runs dry. Okay. It's a different way to do things, but some of them just want it out of mind and they just want somebody handling it, which is the most passive type of income that you can actually have, which is probably a whole nother video on passive income. But that's a whole nother thing. So, well, Brett, I appreciate you joining us, and I'll kind of wrap this up. And I think you already gave the answer to this question. But if you were going to give one key piece of advice to somebody who is going to start in the real estate investing world, who otherwise has not gotten into that, what advice would you give them?
There's not probably just one piece, but one of the things I've learned, watch out just going for big turnkey companies that are moving product. And they might be doing it in the best interest of, doing right, and they find markets and then they sell lots of properties in those markets. But do your own due diligence. Go deep and get someone who you're working with that you trust, that will help you do real due diligence, both on the markets, the properties, but more specifically in the neighborhoods, which Matty's been able to do. So I like smaller, I think is better. I think boutique, the other thing where I've had bad experiences are the very large property management firms have a real challenge with what we just talked about in communication. They're too system driven and they're too big, and things fall through the cracks. And I think that's partly why I keep an eye on things, because I've found tens of thousands of dollars of errors along the way that has got me sort of keeping an eye on stuff.
Yeah.
And so maybe people got lucky and they found you first and they didn't have to deal with that. So I think with property management, finding that right size is really important. So
yeah,
they are the lifeblood of your success. So first is watch out just with the big turnkey companies just selling product.
Yeah.
And make sure you get someone you really trust that can help you with the due diligence and really learning along the way. There's some small good coaching groups that can teach real estate investing, which I wish I would have known about. In 20 years, I learned it the hard way. But there are some really boutique coaching people who really can help you. So mentors can help. And then just watch out for property management firms. They are, in my mind, a nightmare. I've never had a good experience with a big firm doing property management. But, I've always said when you're going to hire someone to be attached to you, you want someone that's going to be working for another 20 years, but has 10 or 15 years experience. That is the sweet spot of finding someone. If you get someone too old, they're going to retire and then they're going to have to sell the business and you're screwed. And on the other side, if they're too green, they don't have the wisdom and experience to navigate the minefield. So there's sort of an age thing.
I tripped and fell into property management when I was 23 years old. So it just kind of happened. People are like, how'd you get into property management? I was like, I'm not really sure. I had a business degree and I knew that I needed to do something. And I was working as a golf pro. And wasn't getting paid in free range balls and tees, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you come work? We can pay you X." And I'm like, "All right, cool, sounds great." I had no idea what I was getting into. I knew it was real estate, but I've had people tell me because I do communicate well. I talk a lot. I'm very approachable from that regard. I'm always getting told that, and you don't know how people perceive you from the outside looking in all the time. They're like, "Hey, you should try real estate." So when the opportunity came up, I was like, "All right, well, let's try that." And meeting with people, and I guess the one thing, and I'll wrap this up, the one thing I love about it is to meet people like you who have helped make me successful and also make you successful as well, which has been a huge partnership in that. And I can't thank you enough for being patient with us and growing with us. And we learn things all the time. And we've had in-depth conversations about things that you'd prefer to see, or, hey, why do you do it this way? Or why do you do it that way? And we've learned from you as well. So we definitely appreciate you being a customer, and I can't wait to share this with some people out there who might be looking to invest in the Jacksonville area or anywhere around the country that might be able to take something from this video and apply it to their own lives.
Well, thanks, Matty. No, I think of it as a true partnership. Looking forward to the next, hopefully 10, 20 years of going on this ride with you.
I don't plan on going anywhere.
If they have a question or they need a reference and you need them to talk to them, or they just have a question, I'm here to help.
I appreciate that very much. And if you guys do have a question for Brett, please reach out to me and I would connect you guys as well. But other than that, I hope you guys learned something today about maybe getting into the real estate investing world, or how a property management company can help you have success in that investing world. So guys, I'm Matty Miller, and thanks, Brett, again. And we'll talk to you guys soon.